In the late 1990s, Ashcroft City was already a dangerous place. The city sat between major highways, shipping routes, and industrial districts. Organized crime had existed there for decades. Rival gangs fought for territory. Corrupt businessmen paid for protection. Police departments were stretched thin. To most people, it seemed impossible for anything to become more dangerous. They were wrong, because in 1998, something began happening in Ashcroft City that nobody could explain. Several criminal organizations started losing territory, not through violent gang wars, not through public shootings, not through dramatic takeovers. Instead, they simply began collapsing. A gambling operation suddenly shut down. A smuggling route vanished. A warehouse changed ownership overnight. Entire businesses started answering to someone new, yet nobody knew who that someone was. At first, investigators believed a powerful Mafia family from another state had moved into the city. Then they believed a cartel had established a secret presence. Then they suspected a coalition of local gangs. Every theory turned out to be wrong, because behind the city's transformation stood 6 women: Vivian Knox, Adriana Pierce, Monica Vance, Roxanne Delaney, Tessa Blackwood, and Vanessa Sterling. Together, they would become known as the Black Veil Syndicate, and for nearly a decade, they would control parts of Ashcroft City through fear, influence, and secrecy. What made the organization so unusual was that nobody could determine who was truly in charge. Witnesses described Vivian Knox as the leader. Others insisted Adriana Pierce gave the orders. Financial investigators believed Monica Vance controlled everything from behind the scenes. Every investigation pointed in a different direction. Years later, former detectives admitted that confusion was one of the syndicate's greatest weapons. Authorities kept looking for one boss. They never considered that power might be shared. By the year 2000, the Black Veil Syndicate had expanded into West Brim, a struggling district near the industrial waterfront. West Brim was notorious for abandoned factories, aging apartment blocks, and underground criminal activity. For years, rival gangs had fought over the area. Then suddenly the fighting stopped. Residents noticed something strange. Crime didn't disappear. It simply became organized. The gangs that once battled each other began following the same rules. People who ignored those rules often regretted it. Rumors spread throughout West Brim. Some claimed the 6 women held secret meetings inside an old nightclub called the Obsidian Club. Others believed they communicated through trusted intermediaries. Nobody seemed to know the truth. But everyone knew one thing: nobody wanted their attention. Former residents would later describe an atmosphere of constant fear, not because violence happened every day, because it didn't. The Black Veil Syndicate preferred something much more effective: reputation. People feared what might happen, and that fear often achieved more than violence ever could. By 2002, businesses across Ashcroft City had started paying unofficial fees for protection. Many owners never met the people collecting the money. The requests simply appeared. Ignoring them was considered a bad idea. One businessman reportedly refused multiple times. Within weeks, several major contracts disappeared. Suppliers stopped returning calls. Partners ended relationships. His company nearly collapsed. No charges were ever filed. No threats were ever proven. Yet the story spread throughout the city, and that was enough. Meanwhile, Monica Vance was quietly transforming the syndicate's finances. Unlike traditional criminal organizations that relied entirely on illegal operations, the Black Veil Syndicate invested heavily in legitimate businesses: construction companies, transportation firms, warehousing facilities, real estate. The money gave them influence, and influence was far more valuable than street power. By 2003, investigators were facing a serious problem. The organization had become too sophisticated. Detective Sarah Bennett spent years trying to map the syndicate structure. Every lead ended in a dead end. Every witness knew only a small piece of the puzzle. No one seemed capable of describing the entire organization. Then came the event that changed everything. A trusted accountant named Jason Reed walked into a federal office carrying a box. Inside were thousands of documents, financial records, property transactions, business agreements. The content suggested the Black Veil Syndicate had quietly built influence far beyond Ashcroft City. For the first time, authorities believed they had a chance. Federal prosecutor Nathaniel Crawford assembled a task force. Special Agent Daniel Langston joined the investigation. Resources poured into the case. Surveillance expanded. Financial audits increased. Witnesses were interviewed. The government was preparing for a major operation, but there was a problem. The syndicate somehow seemed aware of every move. Investigators would later describe the experience as frustrating. Whenever they planned an action, the organization adapted. Whenever they targeted a business, ownership changed. Whenever they followed one lead, another vanished. Months passed, then years. The case stalled. Meanwhile, public fascination with the 6 women continued to grow. Newspapers published stories. Radio programs discussed theories. Residents debated who the true leader might be. Some viewed the women as criminal masterminds. Others saw them as symbols of power in a world traditionally dominated by men. But behind the public fascination, tensions were beginning to emerge. Success had created a new problem: greed. The syndicate had grown larger than anyone expected. With more money came more disagreements. Different members wanted different futures. Some preferred expansion. Others wanted caution. For the first time, cracks began appearing beneath the surface. In 2006, those cracks became impossible to ignore. Financial disputes erupted. Alliances shifted. Longtime associates began cooperating with investigators. The organization that once appeared untouchable was becoming vulnerable. Then came the breakthrough. A series of coordinated federal raids targeted multiple businesses connected to the syndicate. Warehouses were searched. Financial records were seized. Dozens of associates were questioned. The operation didn't destroy the organization overnight, but it damaged it. More importantly, it shattered the image of invincibility. For years, many people had believed the Black Veil Syndicate could never be challenged. Now they knew otherwise. Over the following months, several members faced charges connected to financial crimes, conspiracy, corruption, and racketeering. Witnesses who had remained silent for years finally began talking. The wall of secrecy surrounding the organization started to crumble, and then investigators uncovered the truth that had eluded them for nearly a decade. There was never a single boss. The 6 women had intentionally structured the syndicate that way from the beginning. Each controlled a different area. Each possessed separate networks. Each could continue operating even if another was arrested. It was a system designed to survive. And for years, it worked. But eventually, the same structure that protected them also contributed to their downfall. To many leaders, to many competing interests, to many opportunities for mistakes. By 2008, the Black Veil Syndicate was no longer the force it once had been. Several key figures faced prosecution. Others accepted plea agreements. Some lost fortunes. Some lost influence. The empire that had taken years to build slowly unraveled. Unlike many criminal legends, this story did not end with mysterious disappearances. It did not end with unsolved mysteries. And it did not end with anyone escaping forever. Instead, it ended in courtrooms, documents, evidence, testimony, the very things the organization had spent years avoiding. Today, the Black Veil Syndicate remains one of the most discussed criminal organizations in Ashcroft City's fictional history. Not because they were the most violent, not because they were the richest, but because they achieved something nobody expected. In a world dominated by powerful crime families and established gangs, 6 women quietly built an empire that changed an entire city. For years, nobody knew how much power they truly possessed, and by the time the truth became clear, their influence had already reshaped Ashcroft City forever.